Have you got any questions about those differences so far? Why do you think people have got different skin colours, for example? Why?
And now this is getting to the point. Now they're going to take it on board.
My dad's black and my mum's white, so I've got both.
So you've got both. What do you
There's
think?
like different differences in the not the organs but the cells in the body.
So there's differences in the cells in the body. Does anybody know what those differences might be in your skin cells? We're a bit like snails, really, because some of us are dark and some of us are light.
Right, he's dealing with this in quite a good way. It's quite a difficult subject here.
Stripes on the snails. And that's amazing, isn't it? These snails have got exactly the same chemicals in their skin as we all have, but some of us have more than others, okay? So that's something we share with snails. So we've done boys and girls, we've done skin colour, we've done eye colour, we've done tongue rolling.
Okay, now, that's good. Going back through.
Rolling. Now, let me do another one. Has anybody heard of fingerprints? Okay. Somebody tell me what you know about fingerprints. Somebody on this table tell me about what you know about fingerprints.
Everyone has a different fingerprint.
Well, just by chance, we can look at our fingerprints now because I brought with me something to take fingerprints. And what you need to do is take your thumb and roll it over like this. Then get your piece of paper, just stick it down there, and then roll it on again. And then look at it under the microscope, under the magnifying glass, and you'll see your fingerprint, okay? So, okay, don't put too much on.
Don't put too much ink on, says Steve. It's like red rag to a bull to those children. They're going to put lots of ink on.
Following Fiona's advice that the snails should be removed for their own safety, the children are free to explore the smudgy science of fingerprints.
If you look at your fingerprint, well, there's two kinds. There's things which we can call them waves, and we can call this one circles. It's a horrible noise.
Right, this is good now because they're really getting into this, enjoying.
So if you've got a circle, you've got a circle. Okay? So you've got a circle. Congratulations. That's an awful lot of it. Do it several. All right. So, all right.
I'm not quite sure how to get all their attention, and they're getting a little bit chatty.
I think I put a bit too much ink on my finger.
He needs to change
You're going to have to wash your hands.
the angle a little bit. Looks as though he's doing that. He's handing round the cups now. That's really good. That's a good idea. So he's getting ready to move on to the next activity.
So here's something else I bet you didn't know. Not only do we differ in the way we look, we differ in the way we taste.
You haven't got all their attention. They're more fascinated by the equipment. Some are still doing the fingerprints.
Everybody tasted tonic water before.
He needs to have stopped them and got them looking straight at him and listening.
And when Europeans first went to India and to Africa, they got malaria, and they used to take tonic water to make them better. And now we don't have the disease anymore, but we still like tonic water. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you want to, you don't have to, is just take a little tiny drink, and then you can put your hand up when if you think it's nasty or nice.
Choose big ears.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what the boys are up to with theirs, but they've already tasted it.
It's nice, it's
I
nice.
think Steve should have waited and all of them tried it at the same time.
After a while. Your tongue's gone green.
I should have poured this out first, shouldn't I?
Yeah, but I did.
Who thinks that the tonic water tastes nasty and bitter? And who thinks it's actually quite nice? All right. Can I have your attention just for a minute? So when we look at nice and nasty, it's a bit hard to know what we mean by nice and nasty, but it means something, doesn't it? I can see some people making horrible faces. Ooh, it's horrible. And that actually is due to another gene. It's different between two people. Some people think that this is nice, they taste the sugar.
Good.
Some people
That's good. Now they're listening.
And that's another gene difference. It's both of them, okay? And you're getting completely covered in black ink as well, so I'll get into trouble. So what we've done is to look at a lot of different things. What have we looked at? Boys and girls, right? What else did we look at?
Genes.
Yeah, we looked at genes. Genes for boy and girl, gene for your colour of your eyes, genes for fingerprints, genes for surprising things like tasting nasty quinine or not. And what we're going to do is fill up a little questionnaire. We're going to ask you to make your own little identity chart saying who you are based on exactly that. You can keep this. I'm not going to take it away.
They'll like that, the idea of having something to keep.
It says, I am a boy or I am a girl. I'm a boy, by the way, myself. Then you can put a circle around that.
Do you like this stuff?
Yeah, I do.
My mum loves it.
Really mucky hands now, and they're more interested in their mucky hands than listening.
I'll do it next. Can I have a mark? You haven't got a sheet? Let me get you one. Your hair is dark. Is my real name Indiana Jones? No, it's not my real name. Actually, my real name is John Jones. My name is John Stephen Jones. But when I was your age, people used to laugh at me for being called John Jones, so I started calling myself Stephen. And I'm not going to ask everybody to do this because it'll take some time, but let's call them column A for the left-hand column and column B for the right-hand column. And our friend Gustav here, okay, he is a boy, so he scores A on there, and his hair is dark, so he scores B on there. His eyes are dark, so he scores B. He can roll his tongue, so he scores A. His right thumb is on top, so he scores B. His fingerprint has got those waves in, so he scores A. And the taste does not taste nasty, so he scores B. So his identity is A, B, B, A, B, A, B. See how I did that?
This is quite difficult for these children.
See how I did that? You want to write your...
It's being asked to put a code now when they're going up to the boards. I'm not sure if they've really understood what they have to do.
And you'd read out your...
B A B A B B B A B B B B
I'm linked to ABBA.
They seem to know what they're doing now. Oh, that's quite a good strategy. Now he's gone back to the children that are still seated.
A B B.
This lesson's so cool.
Put yours up. So let's go back to our desks now. You can have the snails for class pets when we finish.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, Steve. I'm not sure what we're going to do with snails. I don't think that Mrs. Gunning will be too happy if all the snails are let loose in the school garden.
So what this tells us is that we're all different. Just like those snails, we're actually different from each other. Why do you think it might be important for you to know what your own genes are?
Ah, it's good. Now it's coming together well. I think they're going to get the point of this.
Go to the doctor. They need to know more about you so that you can have something done to you that you need, like a cure for a disease.
That's a good answer. If you go to the doctors, maybe it'll be different. You need a different cure. What else might be important?
Different fingerprints for the police and the criminals.
Okay, different fingerprints. The police can use that, although I'm sure that none of us will ever be in that difficulty. One more idea. What do you think?
Different taste buds.
Different taste buds. Some things taste nice and some things taste nasty. And actually, one of the amazing things we've found in the last 2 or 3 years is that every one of us tastes food in a different way. So actually, what we found out today, I think, is that every single one of us is different. And those differences could be very important in your future life. So
It's got them really quiet to end, which is nice. It's a good ending to the lesson.
So maybe, I hope some of you might even grow up to be geneticists. Now go and wash your hands, please.
Oh, I better get out there.
Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
How was it?
More fun than teaching students, I'll tell you. My students.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
While Steve catches his breath, Mrs. Green hears what the class thought of the professor's lesson.
Let's have you sitting quietly for a moment. How was that lesson? Enjoyed it.
Because normally we have like you or Miss Fahy in the room, and it's actually kind of just weird. It was because he taught us differently to a teacher.
It was a bit weird having a scientist in the room because he explained things really well and it was really fun.
I thought that he was a very good teacher, and I thought it was quite good that we got to learn a bit about something that we would be covering in secondary school.
With the children in the playground and the classroom still heavy with the odour of ink and snails, Fiona and Steve review the lesson.
I enjoyed it. My feeling at the end actually was I got the timing slightly wrong, because by the time I got to the end they were getting a bit tired, understandably, as was I. And the whole point was to try and to ask them why this might be important to them. But we didn't really explore the idea that it was very important that we were genetically different from each other. Maybe they're a bit young to get that, but I wish I'd put more effort onto that last take-home bit.
I think they did get quite a lot out of it. I think they certainly made that connection at the end. Maybe from your point of view, you would have liked to have taken it further, but then that's often the case with teaching. You don't quite get there. Or you would bring that into the next lesson at the beginning of the follow-up session.
What do you think they'll remember about it?
I think they just were enchanted by the snails. I mean, that you got them, you grabbed them right at the start, and that was a fascination which for some never, they were just watching those snails the whole time, the whole way through, and they're still thinking about the snails now.
Oh, that's good.
But I think the main difference with your lesson to one that they're familiar with was that they didn't have any science books and they weren't expected to record anything. So that took away that side of the, we must write this down. So it was all wholly practical.
Okay,
And the idea of them actually getting up and moving around the room as well is something that us as class teachers, we would try and avoid that as much as possible. So that, of course, that engaged them as well. They liked that.
Yeah,
but then at the same time, I think it was then quite difficult for you to get them settled.
I mean, it was interesting you said that they didn't have to write anything down and they enjoyed it, but of course that's a definition of a bad science lesson. Because if you're doing science and you don't write it down, you haven't done it.
Not necessarily at all, no.
Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, there are I'm bad at writing things down. And you're always doing experiments where you don't write down every detail of what you did. And then when you try and do it again, it won't work. And that's because you didn't write it down. So I think that, this formal stuff has a part to play.
They certainly loved your sense of humour. But I think that you needed just sometimes to give them a little longer to answer the questions, because I noticed that sometimes you asked a very good question and didn't give them quite long enough for their responses. But of course that's knowing the children, and you would, once you're familiar with the children, so if you were teaching here long term, I'm sure it would have been easier.
I don't think I could cope with teaching long term. I just die of exhaustion. I mean, I give a lecture for an hour, then I have to sit for the rest of the day quivering, drinking tea.
But you'd have hundreds of exam scripts to mark.
That's also true. Well, I enjoyed it.
The children enjoyed it as well, hugely.
All right, well, I hope the snails did. And I think the attraction of talking about science to younger children, for them, everything's new. In many ways, they're still real scientists. But I think it's worth reminding ourselves that science is fundamentally an infantile pastime.
I learned that people could look the same but be different in a way, and people can look completely different and be the same.
And it was so clear for those children that they were having fun that it made me feel good about teaching science for a change.
If you'd like to try out Steve's lesson plan, it's on the Teachers TV website.